You are listening to the Live Well with Arthritis podcast, helping you to live a healthier and happier life with your arthritis. Every episode contains science-backed support, expert advice, and a deep understanding of the reality of living with arthritis. I'm your host, Emily Johnson, also known as Arthritis Foodie. I'm a best-selling author and the founder of Live Well with Arthritis. Whether you've been living with arthritis for years, or you're navigating a new diagnosis, or perhaps you have symptoms and are looking for answers, this podcast is for you. For more support, you can join the waitlist for my course, Live Well with Arthritis, on www.livewellwitharthritis.com/waitlist. That's www.livewellwitharthritis.com/waitlist. Places are limited, so the earlier you sign up, the better. Now, let's get into the episode. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another solo episode of the Live Well with Arthritis podcast. I have some fantastic guests coming in the next month, including a leading gut health nutritionist, a Pilates instructor, posture and movement expert, and a breathwork specialist. But before we move on to those episodes, this week I'd really love to talk about winter. Right now in the UK, we are in the thick of it. And aside from a sunny spell yesterday, I am speaking to you from a very cold, wet and wintry London. And I don't have to tell you, as I'm sure you're already feeling it, that the winter can really impact our joints and our immune systems and our overall well-being. I'm massively feeling the impact of the cold on my joints, so I'll be sharing tips on keeping them warm and supported. But what I really want to share is that usually by February, I would have had at least 2 colds and at least 1 major flare-up. But since September, I haven't had a single symptom other than a slight headache right before Christmas, which, after a day or 2 of rest did not turn into a full-blown cold. And I didn't have a single flare-up over Christmas. It's actually a miracle I don't want to jinx. I've had plenty of travel, visits to see family and friends. I was even on a plane in November, but I've managed to stay healthy. I've been around bugs. I've been around my friends and family who are unwell at a distance, if I can. But I've kept to my routine and I've kept to all of my healthy habits. And for the first time, I feel so grateful and relieved not to have been unwell. And long may it continue. So today I'm sharing what I've been doing to avoid being knocked out several times with a cold and flu. And in this episode, we will walk through why the cold weather hurts our joints and what you can do about it, because, the temperatures are something that we can't avoid at the moment and it does impact our joints. My immune health nourishing foods, how magnesium can help, my not so secret method to reducing my stress to support my joints and reduce the likelihood of flare-ups, and finally leaving you with a winter checklist to take with you after this episode. So I really hope this episode will help you as you are navigating the winter season right now. And if you aren't and you're listening to this in the summer, save this episode and listen to it at a later date. So there's also a gentle reminder to remind you to sign up to the waitlist for my program and course, as the first cohort will be starting soon, which is very, very exciting. And we already have some wonderful people as part of that cohort. And of course, the 10 experts, well, actually more than 10 experts who have given their time to create content with me for this course. So yeah, very, very exciting. So you can go to livewellwitharthritis.com/waitlist for that. So now, let's get into it. So why does winter actually hurt our joints? It's not in our heads. So first of all, I want to start with viscosity and synovial fluid. So if you think of the joints in your hands, if you think of the fluid in your joints, like engine oil, and in the summer it's thin and slippery, but in the cold weather, the viscosity increases. And in fact, it actually literally thickens in your joints. And a study in the Journal of Rheumatology found that low temperatures increase something called the drag in our joints, making every movement feel, a bit like you're wading through treacle. So what exactly does drag mean? So when the Journal of Rheumatology refers to drag in our joints, they're actually talking about the physics of fluid dynamics. So I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible without getting too sciencey. But there's two main factors that apply to this. So as mentioned, the viscosity, so that treacle effect, is your joints are filled with the synovial fluid, which acts as a lubricant. And under normal conditions, as mentioned, this fluid is slippery and thin. So it allows the cartilage to glide over itself with almost zero friction. However, synovial fluid is non-Newtonian, which means that its thickness, the viscosity, changes based on environment and movement. So when the temperature drops, the fluid physically thickens. So low drag is, imagine stirring a cup of water with a spoon and, it moves around really easily. And high drag, imagine stirring a jar of really cold honey or treacle, and you have to push a bit harder to move that spoon through the liquid. So this pushback you feel is what's called the drag. And the drag isn't just about the fluid, it's also about the sleeves essentially around your joints. So the tendons, ligaments, and the joint capsules. And in cold weather, these tissues become less elastic and more rigid. And so as you try to move these stiffened structures, create a mechanical resistance, which is why it feels like you can be wading through treacle when your joints are cold in the cold weather and rain and snow and ice and everything else we've been having recently. So when you combine this thickened fluid with the stiffened tissues, your muscles, of course, have to work, a little bit harder just to perform a basic movement. So this increased energy and the feeling of resistance is what the researchers call drag. So just going back to that study, the Journal of Rheumatology found that low temperatures increase the drag in our joints. So that treacle in a cup analogy or treacle in a glass analogy, making the movements feel like you're, wading through treacle. So when you combined when you combine this also with the pressure drop, that also has a significant impact on how we feel the cold in our joints. So you may have, anecdotally heard that when people with arthritis can sort of like tell when it's going to be rainy and cold, or you can feel it in your joints when that's coming. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but the University of Manchester did a study, that tracked 13,000 UK residents and proved that a lower barometric pressure and high humidity, so classic British winter, was significantly linked to increased pain. So when the pressure drops, the tissue around your joints expand, which put pressure on already sensitive nerves. So you've got that, increased drag in our joints because of temperature, and you've also got the pressure drop, which puts pressure on your sensitive nerves. So yeah, those two things will significantly impact you when the weather is cold. And of course, another aspect of this, we are going to come on to what you can do about it in a moment. But the third aspect of this is the vitamin D gap. So I'm sure many of you listening to this will be very aware of the vitamin D gap and knowing that, when the winter is here, we don't have as much daylight. We really don't have as much sun either. And, vitamin D is a massive immune system regulator. And, research in the Journal of Nutrients shows that vitamin D is crucial for our T cell regulation. And so, that has a massive impact on our immune system. And, without that regulation, our immune system is more likely to overreact and potentially trigger an autoimmune flare. So it's really worth keeping that in mind as well, that the dark weather, the lack of sunlight can really have an impact on those vitamin D levels and then in turn have an impact on our immune system. So now, what can you do about it? So firstly, when it comes to that thickened sort of treacle feeling in your joints, if you are jumping straight out of bed into a cold room, I mean, I don't think anybody here is jumping straight out of a cold bed in winter. As much as I like to enthusiastically wake up in the morning, I definitely am less enthusiastic during the winter. And I always think, oh, just 5 more minutes under the duvet, just 5 more minutes, because it's cold and it's miserable, and you don't want to move when that alarm goes off. So something to bear in mind when the alarm does go off and your room is cold and you're feeling cold and your joints are feeling stiff, that morning stiffness. What I would recommend is trying to get some warmth into the bed, into the room as much as you can before waking up. So, of course, an obvious one is turning your heating on before your alarm goes off, maybe half an hour before you wake up, so that your bedroom is a little warmer. That way, when you wake up, it doesn't feel as jarring and you're not waking up to a freezing cold bedroom. So that's one recommendation. Another one is an electric blanket. So I have an electric blanket on my bed. I put it on before I go to sleep, just for like 15-20 minutes, to get into a really nice warm bed. I also occasionally will put it on if the bedroom is too cold to wake up and I really don't want to get out of bed. I will put on my electric blanket for 5-10 minutes, just to warm up my body, warm my system up, warm up my joints. And whilst you are getting warm and whilst you're still under the duvet, you can perform, small sort of joint movements, joint circles, rotating your ankles, your wrists, your knees really gently. And also, yeah, and wiggling your fingers and toes, and just, you can just do little movements like that whilst you're still in bed to gently wake your body up. I would do this after meditating, of course, which we'll come on to later. My daily meditation routine. But yeah, I would do these gentle movements. And so that movement combined with the heat signals to the synovial fluid in your joints to sort of thin out and reduce that drag before you get out of bed. So that's a number of tips, sort of in terms of getting that stiffness and getting that warmth into your stiffness out and warmth into your body in the morning. And another one is on the sort of the pressure drop, the pressure situation that we mentioned earlier. So you can use compression to support this. Of course, I would not recommend wearing compression clothing overnight, because that can be not good. It can be dangerous. However, during the day, if you are feeling like your joints are a bit stiff, and you're moving around and you need to sort of support that stability, give yourself some stability with your joints, I would recommend wearing compression gloves or sleeves, which provides a gentle sort of constant pressure that can sort of help to counteract that internal expansion caused by the weather. And another sort of recommendation that I was looking up when I was doing the research for this episode is something that I don't actually have, but I'm going to order, are silver lined socks or thermal based layers. And apparently they reflect your own body heat back into the joints, which gives you a more of a consistent pressure, regardless of the weather, regardless of the temperatures outside. So I found that really interesting. So I do have compression gloves, I have compression socks, and I do use those, but I've not had silver lined ones before, so I found that quite interesting. So if anybody does have silver lined ones, please get in touch and let me know how they help you and if they do help you, and I'm going to order some and look into it myself. And then thirdly, the sort of tip around the vitamin D part of things is, of course, getting your vitamin D into your system as best as you can during winter. I would really recommend, if you can, checking your vitamin D levels before you start supplementing with an extra, daily supplement of vitamin D. Just because, yeah, I always think, yeah, test, don't guess if you can. I did actually do a vitamin D test and an omega-3 test. I can't remember when that was actually. And it was very interesting to see what those levels were like before and after I supplemented. So yeah, if you can test, great. If not, monitor, how much you are having in a week in terms of vitamin D. And if you need to supplement, then go ahead and do so. So where can you find vitamin D and which types do you need? And how can you get them into your diet and into your daily system? So vitamin D3 is possibly the most essential form of vitamin D. And when UVB rays from the sun hit your skin, they strike a form of cholesterol called 7-dehydrocholesterol, breaking its chemical bond to create an unstable previtamin. And then over the next few hours, your body heat naturally thaws and rearranges those molecules into the active vitamin D3, which your body can then use. But of course, in winter, this is less likely to happen as frequently, which means we get less uh, frequencies of that conversion and less amount of vitamin D3 in our system. So, how can we get vitamin D in other ways? So, vitamin D2 is a plant version of vitamin D, and it can be found in mushrooms and fortified foods. And whilst it's really helpful, recent research from the University of Surrey in 2025 suggests that taking vitamin D2 can actually displace your body's more effective D3 levels. So be a bit careful there. Um, and vitamin D3, you can get it from your diet in animal-based products. And this is the gold standard, as mentioned. It's the type that your skin makes from UVB rays from the sunlight. So they're very important. And a meta-analysis in Nutrition Reviews proved that vitamin D3 is significantly more potent and stays in your system nearly twice as long as vitamin D2. So, because of course, the sun in the winter months is not enough to spark that reaction that we need to get that vitamin D3, you can get vitamin D3 from your diet. So, you're looking at things like really oily fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines. I'm absolutely loving sardines at the moment. I think I already mentioned that on the podcast, on the last podcast. Egg yolks. So, make sure you eat the yolk, of your eggs. Don't just eat the whites. I know some people just eat egg whites, but egg yolks really important for that vitamin D3. And of course, yeah, your supplements, cod liver oil, things like that would help too. And for those of you who are vegan, you can apparently recharge your store-bought mushrooms by placing them on a sunny windowsill for an hour. And researchers in Frontiers in Nutrition show that they can produce over 100% of your daily needs via this, kind of top up of vitamin D. But of course, if there's not that much sun on the windowsill and it's not a sunny day, then you can still get vitamin D from your mushrooms. So, and a lot of fortified foods actually have vitamin D2 as well. So, plant milks, spreads, and also tofu. Soya milk, yeah, things like that. But something I would really like to mention is the absorption of those vitamins. You really need to eat with fat. Eat your vitamins or your foods with those vitamins in with fats as well, because vitamin D is fat soluble. So when you're taking your supplement or your vitamin D rich foods, make sure you're having those healthy fats at the same time. So your avocado, your extra virgin olive oil, Greek yogurt. So yeah, that's really, really important. And studies have shown that taking vitamin D3 with about 11 grams of fat can boost that absorption by about 32%. So that's really, really interesting. And another important thing to know is vitamin K2. So K2 is really helpful in the absorption of vitamin D3. And it's really, really great to have those at the same time. So I use a combined vitamin D3 and K2 supplement, which I'll ensure to, have with my morning eggs and avocado or, Greek yogurt, etc. Anything that's fat based to get that extra absorption for the vitamin D. So yeah, essentially vitamin K2. I was just dancing between vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and vitamin D2. So I'm making sure I'm saying the right vitamin at the right time. But yeah, vitamin K2, if you think of it like a security guard with a key, vitamin D3 pulls calcium into your bloodstream, but it doesn't know where to put it. So that vitamin K2 activates a protein, which then bolts that calcium into your bones. And yeah, without the K2, the calcium can settle in your arteries or your kidneys, etc., instead of in your bones. So vitamin K2 is actually really important for calcium absorption into your bones. So yeah, Yeah, hopefully that covers a lot of content in terms of vitamin D. And of course, I would love to now move on to the immune system supporting foods aside from vitamin D, because we've covered a lot of foods there that most definitely support your immune system. But I would really like to go into immune system supporting foods now. So, as mentioned, have managed to avoid a lot of bugs so far this year. And aside from wearing face masks, hand sanitizing, washing hands, at every chance that I get, and being really conscious of the people around me, etc. Being arthritis foodie, of course, food and nutrition is really, really essential. So I would like to talk through, let's say, yeah, maybe like five or six sort of topic based foods. Um, yeah, starting with sulforaphane and then discussing a bit about honey, omega-3, fermented foods, and thermogenic foods. So yeah, how many is that? One, two, three, four, five. Five different types of foods that I've noted down that I'd really like to share with you. So, first of all, starting off with sulforaphane. So, this is a compound that's found in green vegetables, so things like your broccoli, your kale, your Brussels sprouts. And a study has found that this compound actually boosts the antioxidant capacity of our cells. And it can also, according to a study and research in Frontiers in Immunology, shows that it can inhibit inflammatory responses in our T cells, specifically those linked to rheumatoid arthritis. So potentially a lot of support there in terms of getting our inflammation down and supporting our immune health. So yeah, sulforaphane is a fantastic compound to think about when you're eating all your leafy greens. So yeah, I also love cabbage as well at the moment. I'm loving cabbage. Uh, I like slicing it up and like gently frying it with a bit of soy sauce actually. Yeah, very, very nice. And the second one that I'd like to talk about is the power of honey. So I absolutely adore having honey every single day. Um, you can, if you can, you can get some local honey, as yeah, they full of such fantastic microbial properties. But if you can't afford it, Manuka honey is also absolutely fantastic, and it's sort of like the gold standard, sort of like best honey you can get for your immune health, I would say personally. Yeah, so when you're looking at honey in the supermarkets and things, if you look at the back of where it's been sourced from, you'll often find on sort of the cheaper ones that they have been sourced. It'll say sort of honey from EU countries. So you don't know where that honey's come from. You don't know how it's been made. You don't know, you know, what the bees have been feasting on to make that honey. So I think it's really important if you can to spend a little bit extra and get properly made honey. So yeah, I like getting local raw honey, but I also like buying honey from different places, knowing that it's been made really well. So I've got some Spanish honey that I haven't opened yet. It's really, really nice. My sister got me some um, honey from Clarkson's farm. It's called bee juice. So that's some English honey there for you. But yeah, obviously the more local, the better. But yeah, if it's in your country, then even yeah, that's local to me, I think, sometimes when it comes to these things, because of so many honeys aren't even coming from the country that you live in. So yeah, be aware of that. Of course, Manuka honey is from New Zealand, so kind of counteracting my point here, but Manuka honey is made in such a way that it is incredible for your immune system. So I would put that on a separate category. But honey generally, if you can, get it locally or get it from the country that you live in, or make sure that you know where the bees have been getting their food from. So yeah, that's one more section. And then another section of food and diet would be omega-3. So I've mentioned already, this is really helpful in helping you to absorb that vitamin D. But yeah, salmon, mackerel, sardines. Yeah, I absolutely love fish. So yeah, and if you can't have fish or you are vegan or you're allergic, then you can also get some really good vegan-based supplements from seaweed. And I think that they do just as good a job. So yeah, have a look at those as well. And yeah, omega-3 can also help to enhance the activity of B cells, which they're the ones that produce antibodies to fight off viruses. So that's worth keeping in mind. And that's a study from the Journal of Leukocyte Biology. So I can put a link to that in the show notes. And then another aspect of your immune health and your immune health foods and immune health pantry, shall we say, is your fermented foods. So as many of you listening may already know this or may not, 70 to 80% of your immune system is found in the gut. So you want to be taking care of your gut health. You want to be eating all the right foods to support your immune health and your gut health. So some of the things that I love are kimchi, kombucha, Greek yogurt, kefir, and sourdough as well. And so yeah, a 2021 study in the journal Cell provided that a diet provided that proved that a diet high in fermented foods increases microbiome diversity and lowers inflammatory markers. So yeah, super, super amazing for your gut, for your immune health, as mentioned. And then finally, the next section, number 5, is thermogenic foods. So these are foods that can sort of support our heat, our anti-inflammatory heat in our systems. So ginger and cayenne would be staples. So I'll do like ground ginger in my overnight oats or on my porridge. I'll do fresh ginger in my stir fries and curries and things like that. And then cayenne pepper sprinkled on my smashed avocado, or stirred into my smashed avocado, or sprinkled on roasted sweet potatoes, or stirred into a salad dressing. So yeah, really, really powerful stuff. And there was one study that showed that ginger can be just as effective as some NSAIDs, so non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Yeah, as effective as those for joint pain, which is really interesting. Of course, only one study, but still very, very interesting. So yeah, just to recap, sulforaphane foods, so all your leafy greens, Manuka honey if you can, if not local honey, or at least honey that has been made by bees who are happy in a field collecting delicious nectar from various flowers. And yeah, keep that in mind. And they're not kind of made all over, but they're all in one place. Yeah. Number 3 is omega-3s, so getting your fatty fish, and if not, supplementing with a vegan option. Your fermented foods, so your kefirs, your Greek yogurt, and thermogenic foods, like your ginger and your cayenne spices. So yeah, that's obviously turmeric as well. I always try and get that into my diet as much as possible. That would be another one. Okay, and then finally, I'd like to talk about sleep and warmth and the importance of magnesium. So I, as you know, love an Epsom salt bath, and they really, really help me to be calm right before I go to bed. They give you that warmth as well that stays in your system as you get into bed. And then if you've got that electric blanket, you stay warm and then you fall asleep feeling all cozy and relaxed. And that really, really, really can help your joints, or at least it definitely helps mine. So the science of it, a study in the Journal of Clinical Sleep Medicine found that magnesium can actually help regulate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest mode. So that's really powerful stuff, and that's the kind of switch that we want to make as we're getting ready for bed and feeling calm and resting our joints. So how do I do it? So when I make my Epsom salt baths, I make the water as hot as I can possibly manage. And then I'll do 2 cups of the magnesium flakes, magnesium Epsom salts, and I'll put them in the bath and stir them in. No bubbles, nothing else, literally just the magnesium Epsom salts. And then I'll set a timer or put a podcast on for 20 minutes, 25 minutes maximum. And yeah, the kind of raise in your core temperature and then the drop when you get out of the bath signals to your brain, okay, it's time for a deep sleep. So yeah, so lovely. Really, really enjoy that. Highly, highly recommend. So yeah, magnesium and the importance of that. And then finally, I'd really like to talk about movement. So ensuring that you are moving in the winter. I know it's so cold and yeah, it's probably the last thing you want to do. So I tend to not, I actually quite honestly have not been swimming during the winter season. I don't think I've been since October. Um, Mainly the thought of getting into a pool when it's cold is really off-putting for me. I probably should just get over it, but I can't. So, for me, I'm sticking with my yoga, which I do every day if I can, if not every other day, even if it's just for 10 minutes, 5 minutes, half an hour, 20 minutes. You could even do yoga in bed if you can, really small, gentle movements. Really, really helpful. And yeah, it has so much potential for us when we live with arthritis and inflammation. So if you've had a chance to go and check out, if you have a chance to go and check out my episode with Dr. Stephanie Munars, who runs Yoga for Arthritis, and she has some incredible content on how to do yoga when you've got arthritis. She's absolutely brilliant. So go and check out that episode. I think it's episode 9 of the Live Well with Arthritis podcast. Definitely check that out. Um, but there has been research in restorative neurology and neuroscience that has shown that regular yoga does reduce the inflammatory marker interleukin 6, so IL-6. So it really does help, you know, sort of get your joints moving, get your fluid moving, and it's not too strenuous either, I don't think. So yeah, I will always come back to yoga, and yoga nicely caveats into mindfulness and meditation. So um, the breathing, the breath work of yoga can also be applied to meditation and vice versa. And as mentioned in the beginning, it's my not so secret weapon. So if you have been following my content for a while now, I have been meditating twice a day since April 2025. And it's made such a profound difference to my life. And I can't live without it now. So I will do it first thing when I wake up and right before I go to sleep. So it really gives me that inner calm, but it also helps my immune system. And I do think this has got to be the hack as to why I've not been as sick this winter, because that's the biggest change that I've made. I still am doing all my nutrition, I'm still doing all my movement, I'm still doing, all of the things that I've spoken about over, however many years it's been now, several years of doing arthritis foodie and writing my books, etc. This is the biggest change that I've made. So I used to dip in and out of meditation now and again, but I've never been so dedicated to it and doing it twice a day. And I honestly think this has made a difference because I'm such a go, go, go person. I'm, type A personality. I want to always do, do, do. But of course that can raise your cortisol. That can be a lot of stress on the body. And also stress is inflammatory. So, yeah. And whereas meditation is anti-inflammatory. And a landmark study published in PNAS in 2021 showed that intense meditation can actually upregulate 220 genes related to the immune response without triggering pro-inflammatory signals. So that, yeah, there's going to be more. I feel like there's going to be more science that comes out about this over the years. But yeah, by managing my stress levels, I've kept my cortisol levels in check, because when cortisol is high, your immune system is suppressed. So by staying calm, I've given my body the energy it needs to fight off those bugs instead of fighting itself, I think. Hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, that I won't get sick this winter, because I'll have to, well, I don't know what the phrase is, eat my hat. But I honestly think meditation has really, really helped me. So if you can get into that, there's a lot of content on breathwork, yoga, and meditation in the course, in the Live Well with Arthritis course. So again, if you haven't signed up to the waitlist, sign up to register your interest, because it's going to be, yeah, such an incredible place for us to talk and share these amazing methods with the experts that I've got on board. So yeah, and also we have once a week grouply once a week group coaching, weekly group coaching, that I absolutely am loving as well. So everybody's in the same sort of space and everybody gets it. Everybody understands what it's like to live with arthritis. So you have that support. Hopefully people will make friends as well over time. I'd really like that. And then you've also got coaching with me once every 2 weeks and Emily in your pockets as well. So you can message me in office hours as well, which is something that, I really want to make sure the course is as supportive as possible. And it will edit and change over time, but the core of the course will always be the same, which is helping you to live well with arthritis, alongside other means, your medications, etc., with your rheumatologist. I'm not going to take any of that away. So yeah. And finally, I'd like to end with your winter checklist. So I've given another five aspects for you to take away with you. First of all is getting your vitamin D levels checked if you can, and making sure you're getting vitamin D in your diet. And if you're not getting enough, making sure to choose a supplement with vitamin K2 to support the absorption of vitamin D3, and also getting something fat soluble, getting something fatty to help with the absorption of the vitamin D3, because it is fat soluble as well. So that would be number one. Number two, making sure you, if you can, have those magnesium soaks 3 nights a week, getting into the bath and doing that. If you're unable to get into a bath, maybe you don't have one at home, or it's not something you have the strength to do 3 times a week, it's not easy, it's not accessible for you, then another way of getting that magnesium in is if you can get a big bowl, or kind of like, what would you call it? I'm not sure not a sink. What would you call it? Anyway, getting something to put a lot of water in and putting your feet in or your hands in. So you're obviously not getting your whole body in, but getting some joints in. And another way would be soaking a flannel or a small towel in the magnesium flakes in hot water, and then dabbing that towel or resting that towel on your shoulders or on your wrists, etc. So that's also another way of doing it if you can't get into a bath. So hopefully that will help anyone listening who's like, I can't get into a bath, I don't have one. Couple of ideas there to help. And then number 3, obviously getting that movement in, really gentle movement as best as you can, and staying warm when you wake up and warm when you go to bed. And that's really important too. And hydration, so helping number 4, this is hydration. So making sure that you're keeping your joints lubricated as much as possible, which means drinking plenty of water, and also if you can in the morning, perhaps having something like I'll have a green tea, and I'll put a bit of cold water in so it doesn't get rid of the antibacterial properties of the honey, and then I'll add a teaspoon of honey into my green tea. But typically in the winter, I will just have a teaspoon of the honey by itself, because it's just such powerful stuff. And then number 5 would be getting those 10 minutes of meditation a day. Just start small as best as you can, to support your immune system and to get that rest and digest parasympathetic state if you can. So yes, hopefully this has been a helpful episode to anybody listening who is in the thick of winter right now. It's cold, your joints are hurting. Hopefully this episode has helped you to understand that there are things that you can do, and there are things that you can start thinking about when it comes to managing your joints during the winter season. So thanks very much for listening, and lots of love.
You've been listening to the Live Well with Arthritis podcast. If you're enjoying it, please follow and leave a review. I'd really love to hear from you. To sign up to the waitlist for the Live Well with Arthritis course, head to livewellwitharthritis.com/waitlist. For any questions or to suggest topics, email us over on hello@livewellwitharthritis.com. You can follow me over on @arthritisfoodie, that's ARTHRITISFOODIE. And you can also follow Live Well with Arthritis on @livewellwitharthritis to stay tuned for the latest updates, news, podcast episodes, recipes, and a whole lot more. I'll see you there. Until next time, live well and lots of love from me to you. P.S. Before you go, I have to let you know that this podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of your medical professional, whether that be your rheumatologist, GP, specialist, or other qualified professional. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.